is Nicole Whitney, News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained.
News for the Soul is now in its 25th year of broadcasting. Tune in live or visit the archives at newsforthesoul.com. That's new. Next on News for the Soul, Light Body Healing with Dr. Lara. Dr. Lara is a functional medicine health coach, an advanced practice clinical pharmacist specialist, master intuitive healer and channel, and international teacher and speaker on a mission to empower you to take an active role in your healing journey to achieve holistic health mastery of the mind, body, and spirit. Dr. Lara combines energy medicine with functional medicine to facilitate healing at the root level. Call in now to speak with Dr. Lara today. 646-595-4274. 646-595-4274. Please welcome Dr. Lara back to News for the Soul.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is a beautiful day, and I'm so happy to be here with you, and I'm glad that you're tuning in for this super informative show that I'm so excited about today. We have Kelly Bonanno, and please tell me if I'm saying your name right, Kelly.
That is correct.
Awesome. Okay. She is an eco lifestyle and wellness coach, mom of 2 teenage boys, speaker, and host of the Clean Beauty Scene podcast. With over a decade as an eco-wellness educator, she helps women over 40 break free from dieting, lose weight permanently, manage stress, and increase energy without counting calories or giving up, this is my favorite, the wine, chocolate, and fun, with her signature holistic and realistic approach, the Body Harmony Method. Kelly also helps business owners reduce sick days and burnout while increasing productivity, focus, and morale with her innovative wellness programs and workshops. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So let's just jump right in and tell us how you came to be this eco lifestyle and wellness expert.
Well, it was not a linear, it was kind of a long, involved. So I'll tell you the short version. You know, it's funny because I did have this I call it my foreshadowing moment about toxins and what they might do to your health and to us. Back in the 90s, when I was still single and I was working at CBS Television Network, and I was in the shower and I was shampooing my hair, and I looked at the shampoo bottle and all the tiny little words that I had nothing, you don't know what they mean, all these things you can barely pronounce. And I thought, how do we know all of these ingredients are really safe? And I quickly dismissed the thought because conventional wisdom says, well, if it's sold on store shelves, it must be safe and there must be safety, and they would never allow anything harmful, that was going to go in our body. So I kind of dismissed that. But then I would hear rumblings about, deodorants. And so I remember trying crystal deodorant, which never really worked well. And, back then there was just not a lot of green things. And you were really crunchy granola if you were going green, even back then in the 90s. Yeah. So then fast forward to 2002, I had my first son. And of course, I've always been pretty health-minded. I mean, I grew up in California, and I was following Dr. Oz way before he was on Oprah. And so I've always been fairly health-minded. And so when I had my baby, of course, any mom knows how it is. You really want to do your best and make the most healthy environment and eat in the healthy food and all of this, all of that. And so then I didn't really, it was I knew about the foods, and I was really mindful about what I was eating when I was, pregnant, and and I knew about the toxic load to some degree, but it wasn't until I had my second son, 3.5 years later, and I got this random email from Dan Jacobson. He's a California legislator for environment out here in California, and there are no coincidences. I don't remember why I got this email. I don't remember signing up for anything, but it was all about phthalates and BPA and these harmful toxins found in plastic. And I immediately was thinking, okay, my I was pregnant with my second son, and I'm thinking my little toddler, Joey, at the time, who's almost 20 now. Okay, everything he plays with is plastic. Everything, the plates he eats off, his sippy cups. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is not right. So that kind of just got me really down the research. So I really started researching, and then that's really the start of it. But it was slow. It wasn't like I did a whole overhaul. But I do remember, learning that, okay, you shouldn't microwave anything in plastic or like put plastic wrap over something in microwave. Back then. Now that's sort of mainstream. Most people know about that, because toxins leach into the foods. But back then people would like look at me like I had three heads. Like, why can't I microwave my plastic? What's wrong with that? And now
right.
People are yeah. So then I just kind of started trying to use cleaner things in the house. And it was just kind of a slow process. Then I started my blog in 2011 and really focused a lot on health and wellness. And then I started learning really a lot about the toxins and the toxins in our products. And I learned that, wow, there is no regulation. And in fact, that foreshadowing thought I had was right on target. There are no safety measures in place, and they do allow harmful toxins in our beauty, personal care products, household products, all the stuff we put on our skin, including stuff our babies and kids are using. That's Johnson & Johnson that I was using, and I'm sure many parents listening have used, was one of the most toxic things. And so that just really took me on the journey. And that was over 10 years ago. And I just kept learning and researching. And now I'm really advocating for change, but also education, because, we really can't rely on any kind of regulation, even if there is some, because even if there is any, you really have to know your toxins and know what you're putting in your body. And the great thing is now, even more than 5 or 7 years ago, there's so much to choose from. It was really very slim pickings over a decade ago. There was not a whole lot to use. Now you can really, not only, for every skin type and even every budget, it's not as expensive as people might think.
Right. I can totally relate. My, of course, journey and the self-education has also gone in stages. And I remember when I first started my journey of healing, autoimmune and brain fog and IBS and all my migraines, all those things, one of the first things that came up were toxins past the food. I think most of us start with food because that's just the most, literally, figuratively and literally in our face thing. And then I think we move on from there when we maybe get a little progress, but we're still not where we want to be in terms of how we're feeling and seeing the results. And so I think similar to you, like I went through and I did a full like cosmetic detox, so to speak. And I got rid of all those hair and cosmetic and sunscreen and lotion products and I started using EWG as a resource and just started like purging my house. And it was so funny, like even last night, I don't even know where it came from. Someone must have brought, when they came to visit me, a little sample of Pantene. And I don't know if we're not allowed to say brands or whatever, but I just curiosity, I just looked at the label. I was like, and I was like, this is toxic. And I like threw it in the trash. But then beyond that, just recently, I actually went through my whole kitchen and got rid of almost all the plastic, because I think there's also this opinion that certain kinds of plastics are still okay. And you might know more about this and maybe can expound on it a little bit. But is that true? I sort of have gotten to the point where like no plastics are really good at all. And I'm trying to go back to everything being glass. What do you think about that?
That's definitely the best. Glass is absolutely the best. Yes, there are certain plastics, if they don't have some of the more harmful chemicals in them, they're going to be, not as harmful. But glass is always better, because plastic is still, it's synthetic. It's still going to have some kind of chemicals. And a lot of plastics too, they'll say, BPA free, but then they might have other things that are just as bad as BPA.
Right.
So it's hard to know. But, it's hard. It's also why I always say it's hard to live in this perfect world, in this plastic-free world. Like, and as you know, stress is just the number one killer and the number one cause of disease and aging, all these things, or premature aging. So I always say, like, don't stress about it. Like, educate and do what you, but don't stress.
Right.
You know, about every little thing when it comes
right.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's easy for people to get overwhelmed and think, oh, God, well, you know, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. So, you know, maybe get a little apathetic and just be like, I'm not going to do anything.
True.
But the important thing is, to know that it's like we all do it in stages. Like none of us are, you know, like wake up just perfect one day and are like, oh, I'm going to be toxin free in every single way. And and it magically just happens. So it's normal to go through this in stages and learn different things and, you know, just be gentle with yourself and the people around you and in your family too. I think, you know, because we're not all at the same place with our exposure to information and our readiness to make change. So I think that's important. Yeah. So let's talk about how this sinks into our metabolism and our weight.
Yes. I call it the missing link. You know, it's interesting. And I when I learned about this, I thought, oh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's not just food. We know it's not just food. I mean, as health coaches, and we know there's so much more that goes into losing weight, but also maintaining it. Even more importantly, maintaining it. I mean, there's just so many things that go into it. I mean, yes, food, but we know it's not just calories in, calories out, especially for women, and especially for women like in my age group and the women I help, over 40, over 50, in the perimenopause and menopause. You know, I mean, stress plays such a huge role in sleeping right and you know, just having you know, a healthy relationship with food is really the key. But most people don't, and you know, who would know that there was this link to your weight with these toxins? I mean, I didn't even know it for, you know, the first, like I said, I'm always researching. And so there's certain toxins. I mean, there are literally thousands of toxins in commerce, and less than 20% of them tested for safety. There are, you know, many that are known, like really, you know, like have been tested and they're known to be either carcinogenic, so they can give, you know, increased risk of cancer, or known endocrine disruptors, which mean they can mess with any part of your endocrine system. And I would say that's so dangerous because that's kind of like almost a pinball machine. It's like, okay, the endocrine disruptors go in, but our endocrine system is so many different things. It's like, oh, is it going to affect your thyroid? Is it going to affect your adrenals, your metabolism, your reproductive system, your neurological, you know? So, or many of those things, which is the case in many ways. And like I said before, there's no regulation. So these things can creep in, and I think there's only 19, maybe more now, toxins that are even banned in the U.S., whereas in like Europe, there's, I think it's 1,342 toxins that are banned. There are things that they will not allow in Europe, like phthalates, that we allow here. So, I mean, that tells you something. So these endocrine disruptors, there are certain ones that really have a big role when it comes to your metabolism, but not just your metabolism, even your fat cells and the size and number. So they're called obesogenic toxins. And there's about 20-ish of them. And, you know, some of the, you know, more popular ones that people probably have heard of are BPA, the bisphenol A, the phthalates, parabens, and, you know, PVC, you know, the PFOA is another one, which PFOA is one of those things that makes like cookware non-stick, and it's used in other things too, I think it's used in the lining of like microwave, you know, popcorn bags. That's why you know, there's I think a lot of enlightenment on safer cookware right now. You'll see the PFOA, PFET free cookware, which I have been recommending for years. MSG, certain flame retardants. You know, I'm not going to go through all of them, but those are some of the big ones. And you know, they're found so many different places. So you know, we're exposed a lot So they are found in a lot of the conventional cosmetics and personal care products. So that doesn't, obviously that, means makeup, but also personal care, deodorant, shampoo, soap. So things that kids and babies and men use.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just, the beauty things, but also some environmental things, household products, and plastics, of course, like cigarette smoke, air fresheners, cleaning products, pollution, and they're found in our food and water supply, pesticides, herbicides. So they're everywhere. I mean, it's just, so what they do is they lead to chemically induced weight gain and chemically induced weight loss resistance. Very similar to, and I know you, of course, know about this, medication that causes weight gain. I'm sure, I know people, in fact, it happened to me when I went on I have Hashimoto's, which is another thing. I'm like, oh, I'm sure that was toxic load from years of toxic load. And there was one medication that I went on that made me gain a little bit of weight. And, I know a lot of people that, one of my clients, like, she was on a medication that almost overnight gained 15 pounds. So this obviously has nothing to do with food. This is chemically induced. And that's how these obesogens work. And so it's happening on a cellular level, nothing to do with calories in, calories out.
Right,
so,
right. I want to interject here. I want you to keep going, but I also want to interject.
No, absolutely.
I just want to help people maybe understand just a little bit of a layer deeper about their biology in relation to this. So,
that would be great.
So for all of you out there, what determines your weight, like your set point and your metabolism, is not just one thing. It's your estrogen, it's your testosterone, it's your progesterone, it's your thyroid hormones, it's your insulin, which is pumped out by your pancreas, it's your liver and how optimal is your liver functioning, it's your adrenal hormones, cortisol, pregnenolone, all of these things, and they all work together in concert. So when we have one out of balance, one of my practitioners early on sort of described it to me as a three-legged stool, the HPA axis. You have your adrenals, your thyroid, and your sex hormones. And when one of them, sort of gets insulted or run down or interfered with, your body can compensate for a fairly long time until one of the other ones start to get exhausted. And then the dominoes start to fall, and then that's when you start to feel really, really crappy, and your body has a harder time re-equilibrating and coming back to homeostasis. So a lot of this is about, and you mentioned it before, Hashimoto's and just autoimmune in general. Autoimmune is a huge umbrella that can encompass a variety of these immunomodulated dysfunctions that, again, but they're still all connected. And so I would just want people to understand that this really is a whole body, whole system issue. And it might present itself in your body as a certain something. Like, so for you, Kelly, it was Hashimoto's. For me, it was IBS, and then, devolved into a full-on adrenal fatigue over many years. And so I think this is important to just also point out that this is not something that just magically happens overnight. It is a long-term development. And so that's also why so much of our metabolism and our weight and how easy it is for us to lose weight or maintain weight can really be sort of extrapolated out to way more than food and exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, this is all
I love how you explained that.
Important. Yeah. Okay, now keep going.
No, I love that. That was beautiful. And it is. And it's like when people just so think that I just need a diet. I got to do this. I got to white knuckle it and go on this diet. And it's like, okay, can you do that and lose weight? Yeah, but so much more. Like you're saying, it's so much more than just that. I love how you explain that. So now, and also, are you going to go clean and green and like drop 20 pounds in a week? No, it happens, but you're not going to, eat clean and drop 20 pounds in a week either. It takes everything. And interestingly, the environmental science considers stress a toxin, and so that's why I'm so passionate about, I put stress under this toxin umbrella, and stress is such, oh my God, it just leads to so much. And I've had my own personal, battles and things that have caused stress in my own life and in my body. And I can't impress upon people how, managing stress, but also perceiving it better is so important. I'm like a poster child for like what stress can do. So the interesting thing about the toxic load is people, yes, it's not like, oh, go green and green and lose 20 minutes, but you can. People do lose weight. It's just one more piece of the puzzle. It's one more tool in your arsenal for healthy living and healthy weight. It's like I say, I call it the missing link because people don't really think about it. So, and I'm like, okay, if you're going to, maybe gain a few pounds, who wants to do it because of toxins? Like, do it because you went on vacation and ate too much and had a good time with nachos and cheeseburgers. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah, so like even when people are on their quote unquote diets, they're stressed usually. They're not enjoying themselves, and that's actually like working against them, their whole process and reasoning, and most of us don't even realize that. And I can definitely say one of the most stressful times in my life was during pharmacy school. I put on 15 pounds, and that whole time I could see myself, the scales inching up, my clothes are getting tighter, and I was still exercising and eating my quote unquote what I thought was healthy for me at that time, but I just kept inching up. And then lo and behold, it took me about like 2 years after pharmacy school and then after my residency, which was also super stressful, to finally start to see that weight dissipate. And it was just stress. That's all it was.
Yeah. Isn't that just amazing?
Yeah.
Wow. I can imagine how stressful that was. Whew.
But so let's maybe, where do you want to go next? Do you want to talk about specific things like in beauty and personal care, or do we want to talk about some like mitigation strategies and what do you feel?
Definitely. I don't want to just say, okay, guys, it's toxins, can't use them, and go ahead, go out there and try to go. No, we're going to give some good practical tips of what you can do to reduce the toxic load and mitigate, some of this chemically induced weight gain. Before we do, and I don't want to get too sciencey, but it does help to sort of understand, because it's kind of like, wait a minute, why, it affects the metabolism, because it can potentially directly or indirectly increase, the risk of obesity. It disrupts the metabolic hormonal or developmental process. And here's what's really important to know too, and this is what another thing that shocked me, is our bodies respond to tiny doses. Because I think people think, well, there's just a couple of things and a few things, and it's not very much, not much exposure, but it doesn't take much to affect. So, and then if you think about all the products we use on a daily basis, and then all the ingredients in those products, it adds up to hundreds. Now, not all of them are toxins or not all of them are obesogens, but it's still a lot. And so with these obesogenic toxins, they can promote fat storage and they can alter the metabolism. They can actually increase the size and the number of fat cells, and they contribute to metabolic disease, of course, and they, alter endocrine regulation of the adipose tissue, which is fat development, and they disrupt hormones that regulate the appetite. So, those the ghrelin and leptin, like the ones that tell you you're hungry or satisfied. So they kind of disrupt those cues. And here's what's interesting. They can activate PPAR gamma. This is the master regulator of fat cell development in the body. So activation of this receptor can change the programming of our fat cells and lead to an increase in the number of fat cells. So, fat cells that are, can increase in their capacity and fat storage, and it can also mix them up. So like a cell that was maybe going to become a bone cell will become a fat cell, if that makes sense. Like I said, I don't want to get too sciencey, but that's where the disconnect. And, our bodies are fascinating and but still delicate. And so these toxins get in there. And so.
Well, and yeah, since we're on this too, I think it's important that you spoke about it a little bit at the beginning with, being a new mom and how, all of us, I'm not a parent myself, but I can, definitely empathize where if I were, I could, definitely say I would want the most clean environment, both in my body while I'm growing the tiny human. And then once they're out into the world, providing them, as clean environment as possible. But because this really starts from, the first cell division of gestation. And so, and I don't think we think about that a lot either. It's like our bodies are so bombarded, and they are like sponges, for better or for worse. And then our liver gets overwhelmed, and our detox mechanisms, they keep up until they can't, and then they just get saturated with, all the things that mimic of what chemicals our body thinks are normal. So this is the other thing, like when we call them obesogens or hormone mimickers, it's because these chemicals look so much like our actual hormones in our body that our body gets confused. And so it takes them in, and it makes it hard for our body to get rid of them as fast and as thoroughly as it should. And so this can then affect the development of the fetus. And there's I just want to throw out there this really fascinating book called Countdown by Shanna Swan, and she's a PhD research scientist. And it really is actually a book about how sperm counts have decreased over the years because a lot of this toxic burden that is happening sets like in the womb and then throughout development, that by the time, so much fertility stuff is blamed on the woman because we're the ones growing the baby, but a lot of it is actually also contributed to lower and lower sperm counts or lower and lower motility, because men are just as affected by this as women, to bring light to that. This is not just a female problem. This is
you're absolutely right.
A human issue. We all need to be aware of this and address it. Yeah.
That is so important. Yes, I love that you said that. And, this is interesting. I'm sure, have you heard of the 10 Americans? It was a study done by EWG in partnership with the Red Cross. And they tested blood of 10 Americans. And they just tested like random things. It was like over 200. The scary thing was they were testing, unborn fetuses. And so in the placenta, so before they were even born, they already had all these, before they were even out in the world. And so, and that's not to blame the parents, the mom, of course, but like you said, it is the mom and the dad, but also there's things coming at us that we can't even control. And this is what is really important is, we can't control what's off-gassing, wherever, in our home, out there. We can't control pesticides at the park and, chemtrails or what have you. We can't even really control some of the stuff in the food. I mean, yes, if you eat as organic as possible, you got a leg up. So I always say, and again, goes back to stress, the one thing that causes stress is this feeling, like you can't control. Well, control what you can and, try to not worry about the rest. So, and this is why I like, say, don't worry about toxic load is so much. Just do what you can and you will reduce your toxic load. So we can control what we put on our bodies, and what we put on our kids' bodies, the products we use in our homes. And so that's really the best way to, and of course, like I said, what we eat to some degree. You don't want to be eating, there are toxins in foods also. So transitioning to the cleaner products on your, that you're using on your body and in your home is your best defense. That's going to reduce toxic load. In fact, another study, there's been lots of studies that have tested stuff like this. The Berkeley, and they tested the blood of several teenage girls, and then for 3 days, put them on a clean beauty and personal care, and then tested again. Levels came down drastically just in 3 days. So, it really can reduce toxic load. And, it's a cumulative effect. Some of these are, bioaccumulative, and they store in our fat cells, and they're not so easy to get rid of. So, you really want to be using as clean as possible, but also detoxifying methods. Like, this is what I love to share with my clients. Yes, we don't want to be bombarding our bodies with toxins, but also there's so many nice detoxifying methods. Like, as simple as drinking lemon water, in the morning, dry skin brushing, oil pulling, Epsom salt baths, exercise and sweating. We're constantly detoxing and then doing our best to not bombard with more. You can start slow. So your listeners might be thinking, oh my gosh, and they're looking at their Pantene and whatever there might be in their bathroom, thinking, oh my gosh. So, don't stress about it. It's not, just the best way to transition is one at a time. I mean, you can do more. I mean, I do have some clients that want more of a major overhaul. So, okay. But as you're running out of something, do a little research, get help from somebody, and transition to something clean, your favorite lipstick, find a clean version of it. Your favorite shampoo, find a clean version of it. And this is another myth that, organic or clean doesn't even have to be organic. It's not necessarily organic is not really the goal. It is just, clean, non-toxic, not made with toxins. They're so effective. There's so many things. So there's, really fortifying and nourishing and anti-aging for the skin. Really great shampoo. In fact, my hair got much better when I stopped using the toxins that clog the follicles and cause, problems in the scalp and the hair. So it's not like, they don't work as well, because they really can. It works not only as well, but even better. So, one at a time is a good place to start. And it's also great to start with your household products, because, some of you might be like, oh my God, but I love my eye cream and I don't have crow's feet. And you know what I say? Don't worry about that. Just, change over what you're willing to change over. And then it's, eventually you will get there. And there might be a day where you'll find an eye cream you love just as much, that's clean. But if you don't worry about that for now. And household stuff is easy, because we're not really, we like a good surface cleaner, but we're not exactly obsessed with it like we might be our favorite lipstick or our favorite night serum or what have you. So that is probably an easier place to start. Also, people be mindful of candles. Like, candles emit, when you burn toxic candles, they emit things into the air. So, even things you might not think about, like candles. And
how about any of those air fresheners?
Oh God. I mean,
like the plugins? Yeah. I don't think people think, they're like, anything that smells good, unless it's an essential oil, is probably not good for you.
You just hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Fragrance is one of the most toxic things, unless it's a clean fragrance. Now, there can be a clean fragrance, but most synthetic fragrance, are very toxic. And here's why. The FDA says, it's a trade secret. You don't have to disclose what your formulation for your fragrance, because that's your proprietary, just, you don't have to. So on a label, if you see the word fragrance, perfume, parfum, within that one word, they can legally hide hundreds of ingredients, including toxic ones, including phthalates. So you might not even know there's phthalates in there, but it's in the fragrance, so it's in the product. So that's really important. Synthetic fragrance is one of I always say, like, if you stay away from synthetic fragrance, you're going to be pretty clean, because they're probably not going to have other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other really, really, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go. Keep going.
The other very important thing, and this is what trips people up, it trips me up for a very, very long time, is what's known as greenwashing. So because there's no regulation and, companies can put whatever they want in these formulations. And so there also is no laws or rules against claiming, like putting, the word pure or, some form of the word organic, or some things even say organic, or they might have some organic, ingredients, but also toxic ingredients that, the like botanical pictures on the packaging and pure, fresh, all this stuff, natural. These words mean nothing. So they might use some clean ingredients, and okay, or this is another one. They'll list like 5 toxins they don't use, and you think, oh great, wow, paraben free, phthalate free, this is great. But then if you know your ingredients, you look, you're like, well, wait a minute, what about these 10 toxins? So that's what really trips people up, is they trust the marketing, and who wouldn't? I mean, it's not, there's through no fault of their own. So it's really knowing your toxins, but also knowing your products. I think the easiest thing is, and it can take trial and error. You might not like 2 shampoos you try or what have you, but so a little trial and error, but also just having some good go-to brands that you like, and you just know, and then you don't even have to know your toxins. You just know that this is a safe brand and this is what I'm going to use, and that really makes it easier. So the greenwashing is something to really, really watch out for.
Yes. So for me, and I think this is a good tool for a lot of us out there. It makes it a lot easier. EWG actually has an app that you can download, and so when you're at the store, you can use the app to like scan the barcodes of products, and it'll pop up with like a color code of green is good, yellow is meh, and then obviously red is bad. And it'll give you a score, and it'll even tell you like which are the good ingredients and which are the bad ones. So if you want something out there to help guide you, I think that's a great tool. I don't know, do you know of any other apps or tools like that besides the EWG one?
Yes, I do actually. Yes, EWG is great. I think they're a wonderful organization. They're doing great work. Sometimes it's a little hit and miss. You kind of need to know your ingredients to some degree. There's some things, like they put out their sunscreen list. There's a few on there that I wouldn't necessarily, you have to kind of know a little bit. You still have to have some knowledge about it or guidance. But yes, it's good, and it's a great guideline. And also it just depends. I mean, some people, like I have one client, she wants it as clean as possible. Like very picky, and then others they want safer. They're not, so and it's all a personal choice. Like I'd say no green shaming. Like if you want to go 50%, fine. You want to go 100%, fine. It's all a personal choice. And the cleaner you go, the more healthier it's going to be for you. So Midori is a newish app. It's been out for a few years. It's really fantastic. It's like a Google. You can put it on Chrome, and then when you're shopping, it'll come up and show you, different ingredients to watch out for. It's Midori, Midori. And I know you can find them on Instagram. That's how we connected. Really, really great guys that came up with the app. It's really phenomenal. And then Think Dirty is another one that can be helpful.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I think those are good ones. And I have a lot of resources on my site, too, to kind of make it easier.
Okay.
So like there's a tab that says Clean Beauty. I've vetted and researched many brands, and I just have a list of brands that I get my eco seal of approval, and so you can kind of trust all of those. And then I have another tab that's like eco household for everything from surface cleaners to mattresses to water filters, and there's some. I mean, your mattress even off gases things. So there's a lot to be aware of.
Yeah. So I just want to, before we start to wrap things up here, I want to sort of go back and retouch on how people can help themselves release their toxic load. So we touched on it very briefly. You talked about dry brushing, and dry brushing, you use a bristle brush, and you use it like from your extremities into the core as the direction, correct? And then the reason that helps is because, the direction of the heart. And then the reason that is helpful is because it gets your lymph system moving. And the lymph system is like let's say like this might be a little gross, but if you pop a zit, and then like that clear fluid that is coming out, that's your lymph fluid. And the reason it's coming out is because it's cleaning that area of the skin that you just broke. So your lymph system is all over your body, just like your blood circulatory system is. And it helps bathe the cells and clean cells and take toxins out of the cells. So by getting it moving with this dry brushing, you are actually helping yourself detox. And it's a very gentle way. And it's one of those things, like when I do it in the morning, like I just feel like so much more awake after I do it. Like I really enjoy it. And I honestly, I don't do it as much as I should. I should do it every day, but I don't. I'm just going to be real. But and then the other thing that I really want to emphasize is the sweating. So our skin is our largest organ on our entire body, and it is the biggest detox organ that we have. Our liver is fantastic at detoxing, but like we already talked about, it can become overwhelmed. And so one of the ways to take the burden off of the liver is to sweat out your toxins through the skin. So that can be through sauna, steam or dry, it doesn't matter. It could be through a hot bath with Epsom salts like we talked about, and yummy essential oils and anything that you love to put in your bath. Or it can be through exercising. So sweating is really important. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Kelly? Any other mechanisms? Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that the lymph system is so important. And our lymph system doesn't move unless we move it. We have to, move it along. And it's really important that it stagnates, and it can cause, and it also can, it's like, do you use gua sha? Gua sha is a great way to get the lymph going in your face, and it's very anti-aging, and it feels good. But the sweating, and like a hot bath with the Epsom salt, it's funny because I'll sit there and you're in the water, but your body is sweating. Like my face will be sweating, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I
feel like you can tell too, like, because when you get out, your body continues to sweat for a while.
Yeah.
At least mine does.
Yeah, mine too.
I love taking baths, but I always have to plan it so that I know I'm not going anywhere in a rush afterwards, because I know it's going to take me a while to cool off.
yeah, it's so true. So true.
Awesome. Okay, so
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So tell us, you mentioned that you have a resource. Is it a resource page on your website, or tell us about your website and where to find you and all that good stuff?
Oh, sure. So, yes, it's kellybonanno.com. And my name is very easy to misspell. So Kelly, and then B as in boy, O, N as in Nancy, A-N-N-O. People always put the two N's in the beginning, B-O-N-A-N-N-O. And, so the menu at the top, you just go to Clean Beauty, and that will list a ton of them. And then there's also a menu at the top that says free resources. That drops a menu down. Your guide to eco-friendly household, that's, gives a lot of ideas there. And then I think we're going to put the link to the summit, the Lose 10 Pounds by Summer Summit, that is going to be starting in a couple of weeks, and people actually can start registering now. And everyone who signs up, I'm going to send them my 5 steps to boost metabolism. And one of the steps, spoiler alert, most people don't know until they read it, but is detoxing and reducing the toxic load, and getting these obesogens out of our life. And it goes more into deep depth about which toxins and how to do it. And so that can be helpful. But I'm going to send that to everyone who signs up. So that's a good resource too. Awesome. We can put the link for that, and that is just kellybonanno.com/summit. That's an easy. Okay. Or you have a link too, though. You have a link, so you can put your link.
Oh yes.
Because you're going to be you're one of my guests on the summit. So.
Yes, we didn't mention that before. So yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a lot of fun doing your summit. I really enjoyed it, and I loved all the experts that you brought together to bring such powerful information forward. So I really recommend any of you out there that. If you're just curious about any of this, you don't have anything to lose, sign up and just give it a listen, and just be open to, what can change in your life in a positive, really positive way, and really powerful way too.
Yes. Yeah. I was so just humbled and blown away. The speakers are amazing. It really is just so much good information, and I'm excited to get it out to more people.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about? I feel like we kind of jumped around that you want to bring forward before we finish up?
No, I think we covered, most of it, that, there's no regulation, and we got to be our own advocates and not be greenwashed and avoid those obesogens. So you don't have that, thwarting your weight loss goals. And reducing toxic load is it's so important for health, of course. But, when for our topic today, when it comes to metabolism, it's just one of those things that people don't think about. And I'm so happy that, the green movement is growing and more people are becoming aware.
Yeah. And I think it could be powerful too, if we shifted the perspective and really thought about it as an aspect of self-care that we're providing for ourselves, that you're taking these steps in order to maintain or improve your own health, which then will help you feel better. You'll show up in the world in a happier, more at ease state, and you'll be that way with your kids, your family, your job. And that has a trickle down effect and a ripple effect to everyone you interact with too. And I think and like you said, the movement's growing. So I think as more of us, if we start to demand more of our regulating bodies, more of the companies out there that are maybe doing the shady stuff, that, if we, again, like I said, demand more of them, then maybe we can raise the bar with a unified front, so to speak.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. That's why I advocate for these companies. The more, we vote with our wallets, the more we buy from these companies, the less, and it's happening because some of these, big brand conventional toxic, they're coming out with, we're not going to use parabens and X, Y, and Z starting in 2027 or whatever. It wouldn't be real. I mean, you know what I mean? If it really wasn't a threat, they wouldn't be. Now they're still going to use a ton of, some of these products, they come out like, we're paraben-free. Yeah, but you also have 50 other toxins. It's great they're paraben-free, but, there's so many. And even some of the big companies, big stores, they say, we're not going to be using any products that have X, Y, and Z in them, even selling them in our store. So it's happening. But we definitely vote with our wallets.
Yeah, and I think it just comes back to, we have the obligation to ourselves and to the people that we love to be educated and to be self-informed in the best way possible. And again, like we said earlier, it's a journey. So be gentle with yourself, but maybe, once a week or every day or whatever your threshold is for learning something new, try to read something new or, use one of the apps that we talked about or some of the resources that are on Kelly's website to, just add to your knowledge library.
Right.
Because,
and look at it as self-care. It's true, like you said. Look at it as self-care. It is. And you're so right. If you don't fill your cup, you really deplete it and you're just not the best for everybody else. And it really does, believe me, like I said earlier, I notice a difference in myself. I notice a difference in my clients. You just notice a difference, and it really helps the stress levels immensely. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, your website is kellybonanno.com/summit to sign up for the summit. And was there anything else that you wanted to leave us with, or?
Just thank you so much. This was so great chatting with you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. And everybody go out there and sign up for the summit and get that amazing information download that she's going to give you. And then, just be open to, filling up and filling in with all the wonderful information that's out there. So thank you again, Kelly, and I look forward to having you back sometime.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. Okay, everybody, until next time, we'll see you in June. Bye.
Hear all of our previously aired broadcasts of News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show.
You're listening to News for the Soul, life-changing talk radio from the uplifting to the unexplained since January 1997. We began our 25th year in broadcasting in January 2022, and we're just getting started, exploring the edge of human consciousness and possibility on planet Earth with founder and journalist Nicole Marie Whitney at the helm. What's really real and what's really possible? That is what we want to know. Join us at newsforthesoul.com. newsforthesoul.com.